Yeah, man.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Fitness Business Advice Podcast. As always, I'm Rick.
I'm Lloyd, and then we've got a guest with us today. Go on, introduce yourself, lad.
My name's Dan, from the south, from Birmingham.
From the south.
Come on, the boys.
It's
the south to you know.
The south to us, yeah. Not the south to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, not, I'm one to talk for accents, but tune in. He is from Birmingham.
There's no subtitles on YouTube.
Yeah, so no subtitles on this, is there? So Dan, thanks for coming on. To give you guys a little bit more background, please. What do you do? Who are you?
So I'm a strength and conditioning coach based in Birmingham. That's just going to get the words out. I've got my private studio down there, working alongside an osteopath and some other professionals down there as well. And having spent almost 12 years in the industry now, slowly but surely starting to build up the private game.
12 years sounds like a long time.
Yeah, getting old, Pat.
Yeah, I know, 29 and feeling old already.
Yeah. And the reason, or one of the reasons you're on here today is this is the Fitness Business Advice Podcast, and you are a long-standing member of our mentoring program. Little shameless plug there for our mentoring program.
Yeah.
And we've brought you on to get a few words of wisdom from someone who's sort of in the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're going to go over some of the questions that we're going to ask quite a few people in the industry, and that me and Rick have already talked about and will go back to again. But we're going to start off with the best advice that he's ever had, and we don't know Dan's answers, but if it's not me or Rick, then there's something wrong, really.
And it's getting edited out. If it's someone else whose name shall not be mentioned ever, this person's name will never be mentioned on this podcast.
Yeah.
I am the only bald-headed person we can mention on this podcast.
I'll bleep it out. No
Edit it out,
problem.
Lloyd, yeah?
No problem.
Yeah. So, sorry. Let's start that again, shall we?
First question. Best bit of business advice that you've ever been given?
You would have to know it has come from you boys as well. Alright.
We didn't tell him that before.
Knowing your numbers. It's something that's definitely drilled in on the mentorship, another plug. To be able to understand essentially your profits and loss, and if you want to, especially again being in like that private sector where if you want a piece of kit, if you want to pay for a said course or something, you've got to have a look at these numbers to weigh up whether you can currently afford it or if you can't. Simple as that. Making sure that your business is staying in the plus side rather than the negative.
Very nice.
Very good. So we spoke about this on the last episode, didn't we?
Episode 4, go back.
So if you haven't seen episode 4, then we'd highly advise you to watch that. So numbers are crucial, right?
Yeah.
And it's about the business having money to pay for your salary, but then we talked about tax, didn't we, and whatnot like that. But then, ongoing professional development. Yeah.
Touched on a good point. Yeah, these sorts of decisions are made with the business in mind. Somebody like Dan, somebody like myself, and actually all three of us, not separating. Going from working somewhere else to working in your own place. Have you got the money to? So many PTs like to spout out, I'm going to get a gym.
Yeah.
Not really understanding whether they can afford to or how much it even costs. Bearing in mind that these decisions are made with the business in mind and not your own ego, essentially, which is what a lot of people is.
And that's the thing, it comes down to essentially when you have your own facility, you're like, you want that, you want the best kit, you want the Wolverson stuff, you want the curved treadmills, you want the top of the top because you want people to come in and go, wow. Then all of a sudden that bit of realisation comes in that actually you can't do that yet, and you've got to work for so many months to accrue that money to then be able to splash it out rather than thinking the money's in the account, right, let's get it now, without having that consideration for future plans, really.
So we call that, and we talk about, and you'll have heard this 1,000 times, is getting a return on your investment. Yeah. So whether that is a course or whether that is and again we speak to people, don't we, all the time, and we've had this conversation with you. I'm going to go and do this course, I'm going to go and do this CPD or whatever, and we're like, okay, well, how does that integrate into the business and how are you going to get a return on that? And it's about getting the return on investment, and like you say, it might be the latest And we'll just give a little shameless plug for X-Ego, one of our guys. So hi X-Ego. But if you do buy a rig from X-Ego or wherever, but it's about making sure that that's going to enhance the business, and that will enable you to, obviously, pre-COVID, have more numbers in your group sessions or whatever. That there's a business reason for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And as well as you made a really good point then about if you are setting up a gym or you're buying kit or you're buying for your home gym, whatever it is, that the buying what you think you want or what you think the members want or what you think people are impressed by is very different to buying what the business needs.
Yeah.
When I first got my space, we did a rig out. You can do them online, design the gym, and a very famous Irish gym company. We're not going to name just in case. And it was about 20 grand, and I was sat there going, "Sounds good, that decent,
good deal,
breaking it down month by month." And then when I actually bought all my kit, I bought some of it from there, and I bought some of it from other places, and kit it out for about 5, and it's all still there, all worked fine, all amazing. And members did not give a fuck about that.
And that was the budget you had at that time, wasn't it? And you add to it, don't you, when the time's right? And like you say, members don't walk in and check. This is not clothing, is it? Who might talk about clothing? But that's an ongoing joke in our group, isn't it? But they don't come in and check the labels on your kit, do they? Of course there is some gold standard kit like X-Ego. You can maybe bleep that one out because I've overkilled that now. But
shout them out as much as you want.
There is gold standard kit out there, isn't it? But the business has got to be able to afford it, and as you quite rightly say, Dan, at the right time.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're spending too much time together.
Too much time together. Way too much time together.
Next one for Dan is, I don't know if you were struggling with this one before, the worst advice that you've ever heard. That either you've been given or that you've heard somebody give to anybody else within the industry, or even that you've just know is a trend within the industry. What's the number one sort of thing to avoid for you?
Well, the majority of as I was saying to you previously, the majority of the business advice that I've been given is the mentorship.
Yeah.
So
it's been a bit amazing advice.
Yeah, of course it has. But there's always thought-provoking advice on there, where set by you guys, and even by peers, where then you take away, you leave the weeks and you go back and reflect on it, and you're thinking, oh, actually, could that apply to me? Could that not? Even in just the discussions and stuff. So as regards with the actual advice whilst being on there, I can't say that there's been a negative bit of advice. Then obviously, because I'm almost, to a certain extent, I'm secluded almost in my own private facility, I am not exposed to other PTs saying, well, I do it this way and I do it that way, and this is better, well, you should do this. I think it's very hard though for the individuals in commercial gyms, because you have got 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 other PTs all doing it slightly differently, and therefore them try to impart their kind of advice on you, and you're saying you should do it that way.
Making next to no money.
Yeah.
Trying to give out the advice.
Exactly.
Giving advice.
And I think that's where you need to go to the experts, the people who have been there beforehand, learn by their own mistakes, and can then offer said advice, rather than essentially listening to Joe Bloggs who's doing exactly the same as you, but maybe it's not working for them.
Okay. So you kind of say be careful who you get your advice off, because there's a ton of bad advice. I'm going to curve that question slightly, and you've not been sort of prepped for this.
Brilliant.
And I'm going to prompt you to it. In terms of marketing, do you remember that there was a bit of marketing that you did that you didn't run by me or Lloyd beforehand?
Yes.
Do you want to, and it's to do with that, it was with the best intentions with that local football team. Do you want to just tell us a bit about that? Are you alright?
I don't want to tell it, but I feel like you're making me tell it.
Well, I'm definitely making you.
So it was to a point where the business finances were doing particularly well, and my thought process was that there was potentially going to be more exposure to essentially more people, and I'd invested, and I'll be open and honest, I invested £800 essentially across 2 different clubs to be able to have my banners put up, and to essentially make sure that I was the only coach, the only company within the area, surrounding area that had that. And then yeah, it was a factor because I hadn't ran it past people and asked for advice. Then all of a sudden I got a bit of talking to afterwards.
Yeah. I mean that's not necessarily a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
The thing that we were questioning is the rationale behind it. What were you aware of? What sort of awareness? I'm saying aware loads, but do you know what I mean? Awareness that can create within that sport or within that team or within how many people are going to see it.
Yeah.
What's your expected return on it? How are you going to make money from putting that marketing out there? All questions you should know the answer to before you invest, especially that sort of money.
Yeah, you make an investment.
Yeah, and sometimes it is just to be nice and just to be out there. But if you've got the funds for it, then that's okay. If not, then there might be better ways to invest your money to get the marketing out of it. So we weren't saying that was a bad idea. If you sponsor teams and things, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Grassroots. It's all about doing a bit for grassroots sport.
It's understanding why and knowing what the return is going to be.
Correct.
And that's what I didn't know.
Took a bit of a beating for
yeah, rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Cool. Fair play.
This is a good one. You know this one. So this is probably my favourite one. What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to the first day you were going to be a self-employed coach or self-employed PT? What advice would you give yourself?
Go be a social comedian.
Yeah.
Easily. Go and talk to as many people as you possibly can with an intent to make meaningful conversations and connect with, and to be able to connect with the individuals, the public, because you never know who knows who. So for example, I wouldn't be sat here now if I hadn't spoke to our mutual friend.
Yeah.
I never knew that he knew you guys, and essentially obviously I'm very thankful for that opportunity because the business has grown over the past 4 years because of that. But then likewise, if you ever need any help for any way, shape or form, whether it be like lawyers, solicitors for example, if like trying to come up with contracts, whatever it may be, there's always somebody there then that you can then go to and speak to who is in a better position. And I feel going to the experts in their respective fields is by far better to go get the advice rather than doing like your own little Googling and coming up out with some outrageous kind of answers to your questions really.
Okay.
That's building your network.
Yeah, exactly that. We met, didn't we, because you were training a lawyer who I do some business with, and you live, pretty much 100 mile away from me and Lloyd. Yeah, you travel over 100 miles to come and do our masterminds every month. And in a passing conversation, this chap made the introduction, and then we've gone on from there, haven't we? So it would be to build your network, right?
Yeah, straight away, as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. And sometimes obviously it just starts from that nice brief of hello, how you doing, and then obviously over a day, over a week, over a month, that starts to turn to more meaningful conversations. You get to know them inside out, their families, their lifestyle, and then likewise you don't know where that leads, whether that's a potential new client or whether that's a potential connection that you've made that can help you further on down the line with certain matters.
Nice.
It's a patient approach, isn't it? You need to be a bit patient with it, but then equally I think it's an approach that you've got to make sure that you are not wasting time with as well, and I think the key words there that you said, meaningful conversations, but then equally it's good to give people your time as well, isn't it?
So if that was the advice you would give yourself, then what did you actually do? Why does that stick out to you as something that's important?
Because I feel like I could have made, if I was on the mentorship now, the mentorship back then, I feel like I would have made far more connections. I was always quite a talkative individual, and I used to, like I said, meeting new people and speaking to them and get to know them, especially obviously as we all do in the industry, in the commercial sector, where you essentially get talking to most people and you see the regulars and you really get to know them. But having more meaningful conversations with even the people that I wouldn't necessarily see on a regular basis, because it could have, I feel like I could have grown a lot more from potential prospects that I may have had. I said, because of being in a commercial gym as well, I didn't have a PT structure or setup. There was none of that. They're very behind the times for the council. So I think if there was one to have had in then as I said, I feel like I said my business thing, I could have been in business a lot longer and potentially be a lot further down the line of where I want to be as well.
And just so we're putting this out there, Dan's not saying the council are behind the times.
No,
we don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
No. But the structure was different then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
in terms, I'm winding you up. Don't worry about it, I'm winding you up.
That's a good thing yet to know. So going to the last one, the last proper full question we've got for Dan. We are going to keep talking afterwards. We're not shooing him out there. But so you mentioned before you were in a leisure centre, was it? Like a council gym, yeah? Then you went to work in somebody else's facility, CrossFit, was it?
Yeah.
Now, runs his own facility. So, what advice would you give somebody between those steps? I know we only asked you the one before, but it'd be good to go between the two. So that first step you made from a commercial / council gym into somebody's private facility, what advice would you give somebody looking to do that right now? And then we'll go into the other one in a minute.
Source, essentially to a certain extent, do your background checks on the individual that you're essentially going to go work for. Personally, and I've made up with the gentleman that I'd helped kind of run it with, we'd fallen out after a few years, and I suppose I was very naive at the time, and I feel like I should have done a bit more background checking. So I thought, I was like really happy because it was almost like that point I'd been headhunted, and I was like, he wants me, he wants my services, he wants my skills, so I felt very good about myself. Of course. And then CrossFit was the stuff that I loved at the time, and it was like, brilliant, like this is all coming together nicely. So then I was working like 7 till 4 on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and I was going down to the CrossFit gym and work 5 till 10, and then any other spare time be going there and not really getting much in return. So I definitely advise, if somebody's going to do something like that, is you make sure, like, well, what's your return, like what's in it for me, as opposed to just jumping guard and jumping ship and going, right, this is what I want to do. Brilliant type thing.
A big one on this is always that anybody's entering into any agreement with, especially other coaches, we always recommend to have a agreement. Even if it is a list of things, this is what you're going to do, this is what I'm going to do, and you both just give it a little sign. It just makes that conversation that you have to have later on, if you need to have it, a lot simpler. You agreed that you would do A, B and C, and I would do the rest, and you aren't doing B, and it's important. You need to do that, or it can be the other way around. I just agreed to do this and this, I'm now doing loads more, I need more money, I need more whatever. It gives you a really good standpoint if you are going to the next level and taking it to a real legal contract, like what Dan said before. Use your contacts, use whatever you want, or make sure that they put that in place if you are going to somebody else to work for them. We have all been bitten by that. Going to work into businesses who are friends and sometimes remain friends, but businesses very quickly get sort of, what's the word, like
complicated,
and it can put strain on your friendship and vice versa.
And that's just not exclusive to health and fitness and PT. That's a bit of advice in any business. I think managing each other's expectations of what you're expected to do and what you will receive, and getting it written down, as Lloyd said, and signed off, is an absolute key piece of advice.
I feel like it takes away the complication then of the grey area.
Yes, exactly.
Like these are the terms and conditions. Brilliant, we know where we're standing.
Absolutely. Like I say, even if it's just scribbled on a bit of paper, it's something that you can refer to. This is what we agreed on. This isn't being met because of this and this, rather than you turning up like it's an argument with your partner. You said this 3 years ago, and you did this 2 years ago, and it needs.
Memories get blurred, don't they? We all forget things. You know, we all interpret things differently, and and that's why legal contracts and agreements are in place. So,
and that grey area is a really good point.
Definitely.
So then let's go to the next step. So you went from a renting or working within somebody else's space to getting your own space. What's the best advice you give somebody looking to do that?
Go and collaborate with as many people as possible. Like, build up a real good professional network around you. I essentially sourced out the people who I believed were like the best practitioners in their respective fields around me, in surrounding areas. So osteopath, psychologist, nutritionist, sports masseuse. But then likewise, understanding that to increase, I suppose, or to kind of reach further afield is then go to like other local towns. So I've started to work closely with a physio who's like 10 minutes down the road from me in like another town, and I'm starting to get referrals back from him as well. So I think the more people that you can get is you're potentially just going to get referred more and more by said people, because you've gone and had them meaningful conversations again.
Yeah.
You've gone and wanted to offer your time to go and get to know them, and then if you get to know them as a person, you generally get a feel for how they are as a professional as well. And then obviously it's that you start to get that nice little referral pathway set up, which is obviously going to help the business.
Yeah, collaborate, don't compete, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great, good advice.
Very
cool.
good. It's worth pointing out on that one, I know Dan mentioned at the beginning that he's a strength and conditioning coach. He's working with athletes, he's working with people in very specific, trying to improve them in very specific ways. So the value that these experts are going to have on each little bit of that is massive. So it's understanding his client and getting in exactly what they need to have the best experience with him. That won't always be the case. Working with an osteopath might not work for everybody, but for Dan it fits his model, fits his client perfectly. So it's being aware of that and then using it in that way, really, really good.
Yeah, and you know, going off on a bit of a tangent here slightly, and this is this is a conversation we've had with a number of people, that we've had with people like Financial Fitness and people like that. It's really, really important we talk often from a business perspective about knowing your target market, your avatar, and where you what services you offer and where you kind of sit. But also I think from a practitioner level as well, and again Dan mentioned being a strength conditioning coach. How many times over the years have we all seen S&C coaches or PTs moving out of their lane into doing a physio's job or into
into being a nutritionist and into being
endocrinologist. Exactly that.
I really think they are, some people.
Because you've read a few endocrinology books, then you're a fucking endocrine specialist, and in medical profession they've done it for 7 years, but whatever. I mean, don't get us going on that one. But like you say, writing nutrition plans. Within your insurance, you've got to be very, very clear what you're allowed as a practitioner to do and what you're not allowed to do. So,
especially if you've then got clients then running off and doing competing in sports where it can potentially damage them, their careers and things like that.
Absolutely.
And you can't be risking by thinking that you have to know what you know.
Yeah, 1 minute doing Olympic lifts with them, next minute writing nutrition plans and doing massage. It's important to stick within your specialist area, but also from a legal and insurance perspective,
make sure that you're covered if you are doing any of that.
Yeah, you're putting your business at risk and your reputation, right?
Yeah. It takes, they say, it takes like 10. It can take 10 years, a lifetime to build up a reputation. Can be gone within 10 seconds.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good, very good. I've got nothing else, in terms of what I want to add. I think there's been a ton of value there already. Dan, do you want to just tell us, if people want to reach out, how they can get to you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram as DA Train Performance, on Facebook as DA Train Performance, and my website is datrainperformance.co.uk.
Consistent.
Consistent. There we go. I'll put it all in the description on YouTube and on the
and you're based, exactly where? I know you said Birmingham, but
in Redditch, which is, as I said, just south of Birmingham.
Yeah, so if people want to get in touch, members of the public and whatnot, then
just want to follow him. He's a handsome man. If you want to just see more of his face on his feed, go for it.
Not with his nose. This is why I'm straight onto the camera.
There's no side camera in his. Says me. There we go.
And then, as always, look, if you've got any more questions, anything you want us to discuss on our episodes, just me and Rick, we're going to do some more, what do they call it, correspondence. So if you've got any particular advice you want from us or anything like that, talking shit more like that, give us a shout at fitnessbusinessadvice@gmail.com with anything you've got, and then we'll get it answered on there. But otherwise, great episode.
Yeah, done.
Thanks,
guys, as always, thanks for listening. please, share the podcast.
Mhm.
Please send in your questions. Please give us any feedback. Dan, thank you for taking the time
Thank you for having me.
to be our guest today. And that is
Yeah,
us.
that's it.
That's Fitness Business Podcast.
You ruined it right.
Ruined it right at the end. We'll see you soon.
See you
See you later. Bye.